All right, ISO Extreme Lunge. So this is probably the most popular ISO Extreme exercise out there. It's probably the one that's also taught incorrectly the most as well. So we're going to go over how to properly do this. There's a couple different key points you need to take away. And so with that, step number one, ISO Extreme Lunge. First things first is we need to have a neutral lower back, a neutral core. Now, I'm very against core bracing, but that's for another time. But for this particular exercise, as well as actually a couple of the other ISOs, we need to make sure we have a neutral core. And the reason for that is because as we go back into this lunge like this, we need to avoid excessive extension here of the lower back, all right? There's a number of different things that can occur there, but for our purposes, just know that with excessive extension, it's going to impact how we actually are able to contract the right musculature. And with ISOs, you have to contract. ISOs are not about just going down and holding. It's actually about engaging in the position as well. So first things first with the ISO Extreme Lunge, pull the belly button in so we have a nice neutral lower back. From there, we take a step back as far as we can with one leg. Now, this depth here, as we start to find where our range of motion is, this depth is going to be determined by the neutrality of our spine. So it does no good to get super low like this if our lower back is arched. That's going to defeat the purpose of the exercise. So pull the belly button in, take a step back as far as you can, keeping that lower back and core in neutral. The next thing you need to focus on is keeping that back leg straight. So I don't want to see the back knee bent like this. That puts a lot of shearing force on the patella or on the knee, and that's not what we want. When you actually just look at that, you can see just how the forces just go straight through rather than this angled force entering into the joint. So keep the back leg straight as you can. You'll also feel a stretch on that hip flexor here as you go into that position. That's fine. That's what you want. So from here, we will also have front shin at 90 degrees, inside ankle bone high, foot is going to be straight. And from here, you will engage the front hamstring and the back butt cheek. So neutral lower back, back leg straight, front foot straight ahead, inside ankle bone high, shin 90 degrees. You're going to squeeze the front hamstring and the back butt cheek. And you're going to squeeze those as hard as you possibly can. Now, as you're engaging and squeezing, you're going to fatigue. And as you fatigue, you will probably sink down. That's a good thing as long as you don't lose position. So let's say you start here and you start to squeeze and you start sinking, but you lose that neutral lower back and you start going down. Well, then you've defeated the purpose of the exercise. So before that happens, you are going to need to actually stop, take about a second or two, catch your breath, reset, and get back into that position. As you get stronger and as you become more flexible, you will be able to sink lower and lower and lower into the position while maintaining all that neutral spine, front shin, back leg, all that stuff we just talked about. So that is the biggest misconception that you'll see doing this exercise is people immediately want to get as low as you can. Well, the whole point in doing isometrics or extreme isometrics is to train the joint in the most lengthened position or its weakest position, or some would say the critical joint angle. But most of us aren't even able to get there yet because we are so decoded and detrained that we have to start from a higher level. Once we get stronger and more flexible, then we can really start to open things up. But that takes time. Now, the human body should be able to do that. But like I said, a lot of us are so detrained and decoded, whether that's just through poor lifestyle habits, whether that's through poor training, too many power cleans and squats and all that stuff, that we can't get there yet. So you have to start with where you're basically able to get in position and be the strongest and then work your way down into those more beneficial ranges of motion. So this is the ISO Extreme Lunge. Again, if you have questions, you can feel free to comment below or email us at info@elitelevelperformance.com.